just to do a quick recap, first of all, thank you all for being here tonight. Those watching, and of course, those sort of sitting in front of us right now, Paulina and her mom and mother-in-law, Joan Mann and Cheryl Azrak. Really appreciate it. This says definitely we are setting a huge precedent, game changer tonight. This is, I doubt this has ever been done in history, definitely not in our community, to have a girl come out and talk with her mom and mother-in-law. Really
I don't know what I signed up for.
And also I want to thank my mother, who's sitting right next to me, Linda Benun, who's going to be speaking tonight. She's a social worker that runs our postpartum support group. So we're very, very excited to have everybody here. I also want to thank a special volunteer who came forward about a year ago and said, oh, actually it was more than a year ago, before we even launched officially in August, and said, you know, what are we doing for postpartum? And I was like, oh, you know, it's part of our mission, but we're not sure where we're going to get to it. She's like, no, this is a priority and it must be handled as if it's a priority. And thank God she pushed us, because we've had 3 successful support groups since then. We've helped about a third of our cases are postpartum cases. And like all of our cases, we're really holding your hand through the process. We're here to be the support system, get you to the right place, and be the right place for you, so you never have to feel alone. We do have another support group for postpartum starting in a few weeks. So if anyone's interested, before, after, during the live, you can reach out to SBH Updates Instagram, or we're gonna pin a number onto the screen. You could reach out to that number for any needs that you have. And just to explain a little bit, because sometimes people are confused, like, what does postpartum have to do with fertility? For us, it's all about the parenting journey, the family building journey, the pregnancy journey. Those are all, for us, very, very much connected. There's actually some studies done that people who go through fertility and loss issues have even higher increased chances of having postpartum issues, which almost doesn't make sense. You would think they would be so grateful, but because of all the pressure, it's suddenly like, okay, wait, this is still very hard, even though it was so hard to get here. So for us, it's very much part of that family unit, and we're so, so happy to have all of you here tonight talking about this. Feel free to send questions. We'll do our best to get to them. And without further ado, my mother, Linda Benun, who's a licensed clinical social worker who volunteers completely for this program as our support group facilitator.
Hi, everyone. I'm very, very privileged to be part of this group. My daughter Rachel is very special, and I was very, very happy to help her out in any way that I can. Paulina and her mother and mother-in-law are amazing that they came forward and they're willing to talk about this story. Some people find it difficult to talk about this, and yet they want to be able to be the first ones to break the stigma and say, this is okay, we can do this. So I would like to start with Paulina's story and tell us about your journey and tell us how it's going.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I hope everybody is doing well. I just want to thank Rachel and Linda for calling on me, I guess, to ask me to speak. It is very hard for me. So I know everyone's saying like kudos and like that I'm very brave, but it's very hard for me to be able to speak in front of everybody. I want to say that postpartum is a very taboo topic, I think, for everybody. I think it's something that's very internal and something that nobody wants to speak about, not even the person going through it. I will start off by telling you my story. I have a daughter that's a little bit over a year. I have type 1 diabetes, so before I got pregnant, I was very, very, very nervous, very scared. My husband and I went to my endocrinologist doctor, my doctor for diabetes, and I spoke to him, and I just cried in his office for hours and hours and said, like, I'm just scared, and I don't know how my pregnancy is going to be. I don't know what it's going to be like, and I'm scared to have a baby. I'm scared to get pregnant. I wasn't necessarily so scared about the journey about leading up to getting pregnant, so that wasn't something that I was nervous about or that I thought about. But And thank God I didn't have that issue. I got pregnant very easily. And for 9 months, I was scared about what was going to be. How was it going to be like to manage my blood sugar? How was it going to be to take care of the baby that was living inside of me? And for 9 months, I worried about that. So prior to getting pregnant and the entire time during the pregnancy, it was something that I was constantly nervous about, being pregnant and taking care of the baby and myself and being healthy and making sure that everything was good. And every single doctor's appointment that we went to multiple times a week with my husband, my mom, and my mother-in-law as a team, it was a lot of pressure. And for the first 3 months of my pregnancy, it was I'm very thankful and very lucky that I didn't have any health concerns other than being high risk and having diabetes. I was very fortunate that, thank God, everything was very well managed and very okay. But it was just a lot of high pressure. And in the beginning of my pregnancy, I fainted 4 times. One of them was in my sleep, which was very, very, very scary for my husband and very traumatizing to me and to my husband, because I was basically unconscious while sleeping. And so after that happened, I was able to like see a new doctor that helped me navigate differently. The doctor that was helping me in the beginning was amazing. It just, I guess, wasn't the right care that I needed to be guided in a different way. And once I saw a new doctor, I was able to change the way that my insulin, all my medications and things like that. And then for the 6 months after that, I just was nervous every single second a week and asleep. Like, I was constantly looking at my monitor to make sure that everything was okay and everything. And I wasn't thinking, not for 1 second, about what was going to be like being a mother. Like, it never crossed my mind, not one time, about like, how was it going to be after giving birth? So I guess for 9 months, I was concerned about the health. And then once I did give birth, it was kind of like a relief that it was over for me. Like, it wasn't an excitement about like what was going to be after, about having a baby and being a mom. I gave birth and that was it. I was like, the release of being done with the pregnancy was, I guess, not exciting, just done. And I didn't think about what it would be like to be a mom. And when the doctor handing me the baby, my husband being in a house of boys, he has 3 brothers. I have 3 brothers. It should have been like a really big excitement for me to have a girl. I wasn't excited at all. I was given the baby and I was like, take her off of me. Like,
Frozen.
I gotta charge in 1 second.
Okay.
But how's it gonna prop up? 1 second, sorry. We're just gonna figure out how to prop it. Okay?
Yeah.
We have to put it down a little
Is
bit.
that okay?
Okay, it should be good. You see my stuff?
Yeah.
All
Sorry.
right.
Hold on. Sorry. So they handed me the baby and I was like, okay, great, take her away. Like, I didn't want to hold her. It wasn't like this emotional bond that everyone cries and is so excited. I was just like, okay, next, like, let's go into the recovery room. And I went into the recovery room, and thank God, like, my physical recovery was very, thank God, easy. And I was, my doctor, Dr. Rick, was beyond amazing. He took care of me like I was literally his daughter. He delivered me. He took care of me throughout the pregnancy in an amazing, amazing way. And then I would say I left the hospital without my baby, which was strike one of being very traumatic, like a traumatic experience. It was in the NICU for a very she had fever, and so they just wanted to make sure that she was okay after that. And so I left the hospital without the baby, and that was to me like really scary. I gave birth to a child, and then I left and went home, and I just couldn't stop shaking and crying and shaking, and I couldn't sleep at all. And I was looking at my mom and my mother-in-law and my husband, and I was saying, like, this isn't me. I don't feel okay. I don't feel normal. It's not normal what I'm going through. I know that everybody goes through postpartum blues, and everybody says that it's normal, but like, I was like, this isn't me. I'm not normal. What's going on is not my body. So I called, we went to the hospital, back to the hospital the next day. I picked up my daughter and we brought her home, and thank God everything was good with her. And dropped her home and went straight back to my OB, and he said it's very, very common with a high risk pregnancy, which is what I had, to have postpartum. So he connected me with a psychiatrist.
No, first he gave us so.
Oh, he gave me Zoloft, which is a anti-depression pill, and I took it once, and then I spoke back with my OB again, and he sent me to a psychiatrist. So I went to see her like 3 days after I had given birth. Who the psychiatrist I saw was horrible. She was very bad. And I'll tell anybody that like I don't recommend her. But she did give me a sleeping pill, which had helped me. I took it for about 3 weeks. I mean, it made me incredibly drowsy throughout the day, but it enabled me to be able to sleep at night, which was very, very helpful because I wasn't before that able to sleep at all. So it was in some way helpful, I guess. And then after that, a few months had passed, and I turned to my mom and my mother-in-law, my husband again, and I said, it's not over. Like, I need help. And my mother-in-law took me to a different therapist. We found, somebody connected us. I don't know, he was in Lakewood or something. I don't know where he was. And he was beyond understanding. And I spoke to him one time, and he really was like, there's a lot of different ways to cope, whether it be through medicine or speaking to people or whatever it is. He's like, you need to speak it out. You need to figure out a way to get through it. And so I connected with a therapist who I saw weekly for about over a month, who was very, very helpful. And then after that, there was the support group, the panel that Rachel had started, the first thing that she started. I missed it, and I kept reaching out to Rachel and saying, like, I really want to listen. Can you please send me the link when it's posted? When it's posted, I want to read it. I want to listen to it and watch it. So I had the chance to watch it, and I heard that there was going to be a support group, and I reached out to Rachel and I said, can you please let me know when there's a support group? I would love to join. And so when the support group started, I think it was like October or November, I'm not sure when, Rachel called me and she said, listen, like, I would love for you to be part of the support group. And I was like, I'm over it. I don't want to be part of it. It's in the past, whatever it is, I'm over it. I don't want to go from the city to Brooklyn to have to join a group of girls. Like, I'm out. And then she was like to me, please just try it. You might find it helpful, and for whatever reason, even if you go one time and try it, you might like it. So I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. I'll try everything one time. If I didn't like it, then I wasn't going to go back. And then I did go the first time, and I loved it. I found it like the most helpful out of anything that I did over the period. And my baby was already like 6 or 7 months old by then. And all of the girls that were in the group found around the same age. And I found it very helpful to speak to people in the community that were going through a very similar thing. It was girls that I was friends with. It wasn't people that I felt uncomfortable around. And it was very helpful to speak with girls that were going through a very similar thing, and to speak with Linda, who really has experience and knows what was going on. And then now I'm here. I don't know. And yeah, so it ended, I guess the support group ended around Corona time. And I'm just going to say this because someone asked me yesterday, like, when did I form a bond with my daughter? I have to say it took me a really long time. Like, my mother-in-law said, I moved in during Corona, when Corona started, to my mother-in-law's house, and she was saying, like, during the time of Corona, like, that's me probably when I formed a bond with my daughter. And I want to say that it's because she started walking, like, and interacting with me more, and I formed a bond over that with her. And it wasn't because I had to stay home, because I've always stayed home with her, so I don't think it's because of that. I really think it like had to do with the fact that she became more of a person, and I felt more of a connection to her. And yeah,
I just want to jump in on what you're saying, but I don't want to break up the idea that of this healthy relationships, this attachment that you have to your baby, is so common among women who have postpartum depression or anxiety. It's one of the most common things. They just feel so disconnected from their baby. Sometimes it takes a few weeks. Sometimes it takes a few months. We had one woman who came to the group. It took her over a year to get attached to her baby and to feel close. I think her baby's close to 2 years old now, and now she's just in love with her baby. but it takes time. And I think the process of going through, speaking about what you're going through, understanding what's happening really helps you say, okay, now I understand what's going on. It's not the baby. It's not really has anything to do with the baby and being anything wrong. It has to do with your fears of guilt. Am I doing too much? Am I doing too little? How am I going to get close to the baby? I don't know how to do it. And being able to give the girls the confidence to say, you can do it, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It could be okay. We talked about Good Enough Mothering, written by Donald Winnicott. He's a psychiatrist, and he's a psychologist. I think he's also a pediatrician. And he talked about this being able to be close to your baby without being perfect mother. And that really helps you to get closer to your baby. I want to hear a little bit also about your mom and your mother-in-law and what they were going through watching you and how they were helpful to you. Maybe we'll start.
Okay, so Paulina's my baby, and she's my only daughter, and she means the world to me. When she went through with the pregnancy, she got pregnant very easily, like she said, and the first few weeks into the pregnancy, she was staying with Cheryl, her mom, my mother-in-law, and her in-laws, and she passed out. And we ran there on Shabbat, we drove there on Shabbat, we got to her house, she was passing out, she saw me, she acknowledged me, I knew she was okay, and we were on the way to the hospital, and they told me I can't go in the ambulance, only one person. And I let her go, and I figured I'm gonna take a step back, because Ralph's supposed to go with her, because he's her husband now, and whatever. And then, as I'm driving away, I'm leaving my baby in this ambulance with Ralph, and thinking, what the hell, like, really, what am I doing? This is like, I've been with this child since she was born and never left her. So I got to the hospital and waited and paced the floors. And of course, Cheryl got in the ambulance and Ralph. She pushed her way in and instead of me, like I'm an idiot, waiting for her. And at that point, I decided that I'm not going to take that step back anymore. And I'm going to be forceful and be by her side, because that's what I did with her whole life. And that was it. So when she did have the postpartum, it was very hard. It was very scary, but we faced it head on, and I think we addressed it. But like you said, like nobody ever wants to talk about it. So through the back door, my sister kind of knew, and her friend kind of told her about her daughter, and she informed me about the doctor we were going to, who got very bad reviews. And when we went to her, she gave her the drug she gave her was typically an antipsychotic drug, Seroquel, which I don't know why, she wasn't psychotic. And definitely
Common prescription for some mothers.
Right. So she gave her, and she kept upping the dose, and it was very heavy, and I felt like it wasn't for her, and she was resisting. She kept saying, I'm okay, I don't need to go to her, and the woman kept sucking her back in and not letting her go. So I felt like that was a little bit of a problem, but I do thank her for helping her sleep through the night, and that helped her heal. And then Cheryl and I think both were very supportive and always around her. We didn't let her be alone. Like in the very beginning, it was scary. It was scary for all of us. And thank God she really did much. Slowly she got better, and I saw her taking charge. I think she did bond with Cheryl earlier than she's admitting. We took her everywhere, and as soon as the nurse left, which was a long stay she had,
Yeah.
I felt like, the bond started, but she is the most adorable child. So you can't help it. You got under our skin, and that's how it went. But I don't know, let Cheryl tell you a little bit.
Because, Paulina, you had a history of something going on, and there were some troubles of the pregnancy. Your mom and your mother-in-law and your family were all on alert and watching you and taking care of you. Many families and many women go through this, and they're perfectly fine with their entire pregnancy. And then maybe a week or a month after, all of a sudden they get hit with this depression and anxiety. They don't know where it's coming from. And many moms and many family members instead of being supportive where your in-laws are and your parents are, they were like, you know, come on, baby, why are you crying like this? Why don't you just take care of your baby and not understand at all what's going on with the mom? So you are very, very lucky, Paulina, to have such a supportive family, supportive husband. I'm sure you have family all around you that were coming through for you, and that's terrific.
Yeah, so I think I forgot to mention in my story, which is what I told you on the phone before, that like the reason I was able to get through it was because of my family and my husband and my parents and my in-laws. Like my father-in-law, I know it's funny to say, but he called me literally every single day and asked me like, "Are you good today? Like we're gonna get through this." I wasn't so close to him. I was only a year and a half married, and like literally, it's funny to say, but like my parents and my husband and my in-laws, like every single day, like. They told me, like, it's okay, you're not okay, but we're going to get through this and you're going to be okay. Like, we're going to get through this together. And that was what was the most helpful to me, was that
Yeah.
I had the support of my family.
Thank God. I mean, we really live in a wonderful community also that our families around us. Really terrific. Cheryl, I just wanted to ask you from a mother-in-law's point of view.
Uh-oh. And I'm the best husband in the entire universe beyond words. Like, nobody knows how good he is. He's the best.
Paulina, throughout the sessions, only raved about her mother and mother-in-law and how much she still leaned on them through the whole process. So thank you, both of you. But Cheryl, tell me a little bit about how you felt when you were watching going through this, and how you feel about it now.
So first of all, I'm sitting with two remarkable women, exceptionally remarkable women. The first most amazing part of this whole thing was Paulina reaching out and saying, "I'm not okay. This is not normal. I need help. This is not working." You know, another girl might have said, "I'm okay, I'm fine, I'm fine." She didn't. She kept saying, "No, this is not right. I need help. Something's wrong. I can't do this." And that's what prompted me to find a doctor, to help them look for more help. And it was a serious issue. It wasn't just a new mother coming home and being afraid, is the bottle too hot, or am I going to sleep through, you know, a spit up. It was unmistakably a very serious issue. But she reaching out and saying, "I need help," was really what was, to me, the most amazing, the most, it's what everybody needs to do.
Yes.
Girls need to know it's okay. It's okay if it's not perfect. If I don't feel right, I need to ask for help.
Right.
And that's what she did. And she did not stop until she felt better. And it really, like I said, I'm amongst remarkable women. Her mother did not leave her side. I mean, thank God we all had the clarity to see that this was something that, you know, that she was suffering. She was just suffering every day, morning, noon, and night. She had this beautiful baby in her hand. She would look at her and love her and then just be terrified and nervous and worried and afraid. And it was definitely bigger than her. And I think you bonded with Cheryl before Corona, but during Corona, I watched something lift away from Paulina. I don't know why, but something lifted away, a little bit of this heaviness lifted away from her. And it gave her the freedom to enjoy her baby instead of worrying about, am I doing it right? Is this perfect? What if we're late with her feeding? And she something lifted away. And I don't know if it was time or if it was just the right time, or I don't know, but something happened.
Fantastic. And I think this forum is opening up the idea, Cheryl, of what you're talking about, that mom can reach out and not be embarrassed and not be scared and not be afraid. Now they know what the symptoms are and what's going on and how it happens to people. And it could happen to anyone at any point. So we're really lucky to have all of you sharing this and being part of whatever this is going on.
I wanted to mention something. Someone asked me last night, like, what was I afraid of? Or like, what was I so scared of? And I was happy that they asked that, because I was afraid of being afraid. Like, I was scared of being scared. There wasn't a thing I wasn't nervous that my daughter wasn't going to sleep through the night at all. Like, that wasn't a fear of mine, zero. And some people have that fear. And I wasn't scared that she wasn't going to eat or drink her bottle. Like, I was just afraid of being afraid, like, of nothing, you know, and not being myself. That was what was the most fearful for me.
Right. Well, that's the high anxiety comes across. You're afraid of having that either panic attack or being so nervous that you don't know what to do. So the fear of the fear is very real, very, very real. And I'm so glad that you were able to explain. And it's not anymore about taking care, you know, will the baby's bottle be too hot or too cold? It's afraid of how much anxiety you have that makes it worse.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. And once we're able to talk about it and make it clear, you know, and open and not attached to it, then it makes it like okay to talk about it, and that already takes some of the fear, takes away some of that anxiety. It's so much better. So many women, and I'm talking about 15% of all pregnancies, women have postpartum anxiety. 15%.
Wow.
For postpartum depression, it's more like 5%. So we're talking about 2 out of 10 girls are going to go through it, and yet we don't think about it. Nobody talks about it. All kind of hidden, kind of, you know, in your house. Nobody knows what's going on, and it has to come out open. People have to be able to talk about it and bring it out and get rid of it. Feel like it's enough to talk about it and go to the right source what they need. Some of the symptoms, so that you should know and the community should know, some of the symptoms is this feelings of extreme sadness, anxiety, exhaustion, which is so common. I mean, you just gave birth, and the high that you're on giving birth, and then the from being so tired afterward, it's really difficult. And your hormones, the women who give birth, their hormones going wacky. It's all over the place. It just, the estrogen, the progesterone, it just takes a huge dip after a woman gives birth. And these start to trigger the mood swings. And then on top of it, a new mom is not sleeping well. So we have that all the formula that makes it very, very difficult. I wanted to just talk about some of the things that we do in order to alleviate some of this. And the one thing that we always emphasize to them is that they need to eat well, they need to sleep well, and they even need to start exercising after, like, let's say a month ago, taking a walk, take your baby for a walk. All those things get back into a routine, but also help you to get better quickly. Were you able to recognize? I know the doctor doing something to help you sleep, which is probably the most important thing for a mom to get. And it's the hard because the baby's up all night. So you need that support from your husband, from a family member to help you through the night. Sleeping is very important, and if you don't get it at night, you have to take a little during the day so that you can feel stronger.
Can you just repeat your question?
You want to move down because they're saying you're choppy.
I'm choppy? Okay. I'm just saying that the most important part for the women who give birth is to take care of themselves, their health.
Yeah, so to me, I love to eat, like, beyond. I could eat all day and all night. I could stay up eating. So it was, and I'm a nervous eater, or not nervous eater, everything. And I gave birth, and I could not eat. And to me, that was like, there's something wrong with me.
That's when I went to the doctor.
I was like, there's something wrong with me. And my mom was like, no, there's something wrong. It can't be. Like, never in my life did I not want to eat. So I knew something was wrong because I didn't want to eat. And I also forgot to mention that I had my childhood endocrinologist was asked when I was experiencing postpartum. He was like really one to be helpful in a professional way that was really by my side in the most amazing way. Him and his wife, like, they would call me daily and check up on me and see and make sure that like my health was okay. And
Right.
His wife suffered from postpartum. So when he's a family friend of ours. So we called him when Paulina was experiencing it, and he said Rona, his wife, had postpartum as well when she had a son 25 years ago or whatever amount of years. And he said, would it be okay if she reached out to Paulina? So they did, and they came like the next day. They came and spent the entire day with Paulina
and sat with me and talked it through with me and helped me and.
That's fantastic.
I wanted to just mention, someone asked the question, like, what do I attribute healing to? Is it to time, or of course it's to the support system? I want to say time is definitely a factor that like things, I don't want to say they pass, but in a way they do. And time does heal wounds 100%, but I do also attribute it to therapy and group therapy. I think was, I would say, top on the list, but finding a therapist that does work for the person. It might not be the first 2 people that you meet with. It might be the 4th or the 5th therapist that you meet with. But I do believe that a good therapist in a situation that's like the postpartum anxiety or depression is very, very, very important.
Great. I also want to mention to those listening that postpartum, the depression or the anxiety, may start at different times. It may start actually while a girl is pregnant. It could start a month after, it could start a week after, it could come in even 6 months after. So it really ranges. And many times, like Paulina, you had this underlying medical condition. Because of that underlying condition, that's not why you became more anxious, but because you had the condition, you were worried about other things, about the baby, about yourself, how you're going to handle it. But many people have things that they're worried about. The second group that we had during Corona had a very difficult time because of Corona. They were not able to see, some of them were not able to see their mothers or their fathers or their families. They had really added stress, and that stress could also make your postpartum feelings stronger. Am I clear?
Yeah, no, I'm reading the comments, sorry.
It can make all those other problems even stronger, either depression or anxiety. It makes it even worse. We had to have extra sessions because we just needed to cope with the idea that we were so locked in and not able to see our family. And you know, of all people, how important the support of the family is.
For sure. I can't even imagine. And I know my sister-in-law had to give birth like without anybody, not even her husband. She was the lucky one to have to go into labor with literally herself and not even her husband. And to me, she's the strongest human being I know. Like I can't even. My mom, my mother-in-law, and my husband and the doctor and nurses all delivered the baby for me. Like
That is not true. I'm not. You delivered.
Like I can't even imagine having to go through this time without having family and support.
Crazy.
And for the people that don't have the support, they need to find it elsewhere. Like there needs to be a group or something that is not their family if they don't have the family around, because that's the way to heal.
Right. 100%. I mean, that time they said no one could be with the mother to give birth. The mothers, before they gave birth, were just really, really so nervous, so unhappy, so depressed. Thank God they turned that down quickly and said at least somebody could go with the while she's giving birth.
Somebody just asked, would you want other people to know that you're struggling? So in my personal experience, it's hard. At the time, I did want something, like my aunt, who was like a second mother to me, came over my apartment and I didn't see her. I was sleeping in my bed and my mom hosted her. And in my head, I did want her to know that I was going through something and that I was struggling. And on the other hand, my friends that were so close to me, I did want them to know. But for the world on the outside, I don't know if I wanted them to know or I just wanted them to, I don't want to say leave me alone, but keep a distance and just say, I hope you're okay and I hope you're doing well and I hope congratulations, but be well. And not, how you feeling? I hope everything's good. And, I think there's a fine line in that. people need to be very sensitive to other people that had just had a baby. Like, not, hi, are you feeling great? Yay. You know, I hope you feel good, and I hope you are strong, or something that's I don't want to say, oh, sorry.
If it was you, Paulina, or someone else who mentioned that people came to visit and you couldn't see them and you didn't want to see them, and they also have to not be insulted by that, but just understand that you're going through a difficult period, and it might take time for you to be able to accept visitors and to go out with the baby. If you're not ready, you're not ready.
Also, this whole need for women to be strong and hide the way they feel and protect everybody around them. You're not protecting anybody. The most amazing part of this whole story is Paulina's need to feel better and her need to get help. And that's the most amazing part of the story, because we all feel, every one of us, anybody with children feels, you know, I have to put on this perfectly strong face, I'm good.
Right, right.
Sometimes they have to say I need help.
Yeah, someone just asked, what would your advice be to someone that's struggling? My advice would be that they should, one, start and try and get help in some shape, way, or form, whether it be first and foremost to tell their husband that they're struggling, and to try and work through what they're struggling with and get the help that they need, whether it be to tell their friends and family or seek advice from a therapist or get help. I don't know, yeah. But get help.
I want to mention something else. Yes, there's also another part of postpartum that we also suggest getting tested for their thyroid, because sometimes the thyroid is also off, and that's what leads to moodiness. And we do ask women to check their thyroids if it's, you know, really bothersome. Look, there's all types of postpartum. There's some that's called the blues, and it could go away after a few weeks. And there's some that last longer. And that's part of depression and anxiety. But it still, at some point, will get better. It will get better. One thing that we did, I can't read it so small.
You want to finish talking about
I just wanted to say I did get tested and all my levels were normal. And it doesn't mean that I still didn't feel okay. Like, just because my hormones and my thyroid were okay, I still didn't feel okay. And I still needed to seek the help and get the help that I needed. Just because my hormones were good and my thyroid was good, it didn't mean I mentally felt okay, and I still got the help I needed. So I think it is important to check that, but even if it is normal, it doesn't mean that you are normal if you don't feel normal.
Right. So another thing we did with the second group, you know, we're learning, we're getting better at this. The second group, we had a terrific session with the fathers and the moms together. It was great. First of all, I just want to mention that there is a smaller percentage of men who actually have paternal postpartum depression. They go through their own depression. They're worried about their baby, they're anxious, they're nervous, and they need some consideration and they need some attention. Right. So it's not unusual. But the idea that we were able to talk to the fathers, they were terrific. They came up with so many wonderful things that they said together, and they were like a support group for each other, and said, you know, this was really hard. Some of the husbands were very, very understanding, taking over in the middle of the night, taking over during the days, not going to work. A lot of them were corona and they were home. They were really very, very helpful. So they were home anyway, but it was terrific. And I hope the group that we do will not only do the fathers, but I would love to have the moms and mothers involved as well. Because the greatest part of knowing how to alleviate the symptoms is knowledge. And when everyone understands what's going on, then everyone can deal with it.
I think it's very important that, I mean, I know I'm very blessed to have my parents and my in-laws, but it's very easy for a woman to side with her mom and to go to her mother and reach out to her mom because that's what she knows. But if her in-laws also show the support, it's like it's a tremendous weight lifted off someone's shoulders. Like, I can't even explain to you that my in-laws were there for me. Like, it was, and of course to them, they're like, oh, obviously, but it's not so obvious to everybody. And I think it's needed to be said that, like, for women to have the support of their in-laws, it's a tremendous weight lifted off their shoulders.
Someone's asking if you go through postpartum once, it's likely that every pregnancy that follows.
Okay, so someone's asking, if someone goes through postpartum once, is it likely that it'll happen again? It can happen again. And it can happen sometimes to women who've had 2 or 3 pregnancies and no postpartum. Then the 4th pregnancy, they had postpartum depression or anxiety. So yes, if you do have it one time, I would say more likely you will have it again. We did have one woman who came to our groups who was pregnant, and her other pregnancy, she did go through some postpartum depression and anxiety. So she wanted to be ahead of the game. She was amazing. She said, I don't want to wait until after birth. I want to be prepared before I give birth. And she's coming to the groups and continued after she gave birth. So
Yeah.
she
was amazing.
That's why.
Let me just see another question. Hold on.
Someone was saying that they only had it with one kid and they had 4 babies, like their 3rd child only, and not their 1st, 2nd, or 4th. Like, you never know.
Best ways to know if you're feeling okay and better is, can you function during the day? Are you able to eat? Are you able to sleep? Are you able to take care of your baby and do it without being nervous about it? As soon as you feel confident enough to do all the things and get into a routine and your lifestyle, then you know you are okay. You are okay. It's not a steady, like, okay, today I have postpartum, tomorrow I'm better. It's, I'm feeling very down, tomorrow may be better. It's kind of like, rolling hills until you start feeling better and better.
They're asking,
Somebody asked how to differentiate between the blues and actual depression. I don't know the answer to that.
So the blues really only last maybe till a month. If it goes more than that, then you starting to think that you have either depression or anxiety and it needs to be addressed. Either through talk therapy, with a one-on-one, with a group, or you could get in touch with your obstetrician and start talking about how you're feeling, and they may help you right away with some medication. Sometimes you just need something to help you to sleep, because sleep is the #1 thing that has to get better for you so you could feel stronger. Otherwise, you might need an antidepressant. It doesn't mean you're going to be on it forever. It's a short term, and you will come out of it.
Somebody answered and said also, which I think is a good thing to add, if it interferes with your daily functioning, which I think that was for me.
Also, you
Exactly.
couldn't smile.
Once you're able to go,
No, she really couldn't. She
Start-
couldn't smile.
able to do your regular routines, you know you're better.
someone's asking, how can you,
How can husbands be supportive? So #1, when we spoke with the husbands, I said, the #1 thing you could do is listen and not be judgmental and be supportive and validate how your wife is feeling. Understand that she may not even know what she's feeling. She's just all over the place. But sitting there and listening and holding her hand and saying, I'm here for you, whatever you need, that's it. That's the best medicine a husband can give their wives. And if anyone else around you wants to do it as well, whether it's a sister or a mom or friends, any friend or person with you and can talk to you and say, I'm here for you, that's the person who's the most helpful. We're looking
Somebody asked how to prevent blues to turning into postpartum depression or anxiety.
that's not in your control. It's just not. It's something that, you could, like I said, resting and eating and exercise. We also did some mindfulness in our groups. We did some breathing exercises. We learned cognitive behavioral therapy. We did CBT so that we can try and turn around some of our negative thoughts to make them more positive thoughts. We did the mindfulness and just relaxation. And then we talked about other things like building resiliency. And all this has to do with really taking care of yourself. That's #1 and key. Taking care of your physical and, being healthy, that will help you get through it quickly and, less symptoms.
So somebody asked, how do you recognize it? I could only speak from my own experience, obviously, but for me personally, I didn't feel like myself. Like I first of all, I couldn't sleep, eat, or do anything that I do in a normal day. So for me, that was like obviously the things that were key. But for other people, I think it might be that if they're not able to function daily the way that you normally would function, that would be the first way to recognize it, I guess. I don't know, maybe you could speak to that.
Somebody's asking, how do you know if it's blues and how do you recognize it? So, like I said, maybe 30% of women are going to have some kind of postpartum because hormones are just going wild. Those hormones can make you feel very sad. Just having family around us, being supportive, taking your time, being patient, and saying this will pass, and not pushing yourself. Say, not only my baby has to sleep, my house has to be, I have to have dinner on the table, my other children have to be fed and bathed, and they have to do. You can't do that. You got to be forgiving of yourself and say, it's okay. This is temporary. Let me give myself a month. Let me give myself 6 months to say, I'm going to get better. If a person has pneumonia, you don't say, I'm forced to get better. It doesn't happen like that. The body has to heal. I had a knee operation. I wish it would have gotten better faster, but it takes time to heal. And there's a natural healing that goes in your body. Your body is at a baby, and it needs to heal and to feel better. And once you do start to feel better, the blues will get better. If it lasts longer than that, then it's time to get in touch with a professional, whether it's a therapist or your OB, and you talk to them about some of the symptoms that you're feeling.
So I said two things I wanted. Somebody asked a question, and also something I wanted to mention. Wait, now I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, someone was saying, like, does blues need intervention? I think that depends on the person. If you feel like it's something that you could just get through and with time will pass and it'll get better, then maybe you don't need intervention. But if it's something that you feel like will go away, but you need the help from an expert, then seek the help because it's available. And through SPH, you could have it for free. So why not? Like you could
Right.
get the help, then why wouldn't you get the help that you need to get better? And if you could get it done more quickly, then that's amazing. And that'll be so helpful for everybody. And then another person asked if I feel 100% back to myself. So I feel 100% back to myself, but obviously I still have normal anxieties that any human would feel. And I do find myself sometimes a very anxious person and sometimes a very calm person. So I think it depends on my mood, but I think in postpartum anxiety and depression, I don't have postpartum anymore. I think it's over for me, but I do have normal life anxiety. Yeah.
So we talk about that because we want to help a person to have the tools, not only for just right now, but for the future as well. We want them to be able to recognize when they're getting nervous and be able to breathe through it and be able to relax through it and do some mindfulness and do some yoga, do something that will help them to get through an anxious time or a depressive time. I am a very big advocate for exercise because the hormones that are released through exercise are some of the best hormones that can make you feel better and feel less depressed. Eating
Yeah,
healthy.
I think that for me, 100%, like I hate exercise, but I exercise just for my brain. Like Corona, I've been exercising a lot and it helps me tremendously and it really, really makes a very big difference. And I don't do it because I want to be skinny. I really do it for my brain. Like I really do it because when I'm done, I feel better about myself. Like I really feel, I see the difference 1,000%.
Yes. Breastfeeding.
Well, breastfeeding is, sometimes breastfeeding makes you feel better. Say, wow, I'm doing something great. And sometimes breastfeeding makes you feel worse because it's draining. So there is no one thing that's going to make you feel better or worse. It just takes time to get better.
So I could speak for myself. I did breastfeed if somebody is asking that question. I'm a very big advocate for breastfeeding. I did it because I personally believed in it. I didn't pressure myself to say like I need to be home for every single feed. I didn't pressure myself to feel like my baby wasn't going to be healthy if I missed the feed. I did what I could. I did it for about 4 months. I pushed myself to do that. I didn't do every single feed. I did a combo. I gave her formula and breast milk, and I did what worked for me. And I didn't pressure myself, and that wasn't something that was added pressure from my postpartum anxiety. And like that didn't
Helped you.
it helped.
Yeah.
I don't know that it didn't make me form a bond with the baby. Like a lot of people feel like they breastfeed to form a bond. That I didn't feel that personally, but it did. It was something that was I liked it, so I did it.
One of the most important parts of what we learn from postpartum and understanding it and getting better is to alleviate the guilt. We have to be able to say, whatever we're doing the best that we can. If you're breastfeeding, if you're not breastfeeding, if you're with your baby, if you have a nurse or you don't have a nurse, if there's so many factors, and moms just feel so guilty about anything that they're doing. They just want it to be 100% right. But as I said with Winnicott, what he said is, just be a good enough mother. A good enough mother is not one who's with her baby 24/7. It's a mother who, when she is with her baby, gives her baby full attention. She's not on a telephone. She's not talking to other people. She's giving her baby full attention. That quality of time is worth everything. It's not the quantity, it's the quality, and how much you spend, how you spend that time with your baby, not how much you spend.
I think we don't have a lot of time left, so
Yes.
There's one question someone asked that I would like to answer quickly. My nurse was very aware that I was going through something, and she was very on top of it and she took care of the baby and was very aware that I wasn't all there and that I wanted it to sleep all day and that I wasn't myself. And over time, like I built a stronger connection with the nurse and I was able to be with the baby more. And yeah.
Okay, so we only have 1:45 left. So I want to say thank you so much. I know, like I said to Frida, you're in sort of your bubble right now. Just reading the comments, but there are so many people who are going to be impacted by the words and the openness and bravery and courage that you guys exhibited tonight. And thank you to my mother for being involved. So really, I thank you on their behalf. We do have a new support group starting in a few weeks. So if anybody's interested, please reach out to the number that's pinned, or you could DM SBH updates.
Next, if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out.
Paulina directly. Next week, same time, same place, we're going to be discussing primary infertility, which means people who don't have any children are having trouble getting pregnant. And just to remind you again, that we are here for you before, during, and after pregnancy. We're here to put your hand, and just want to say thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Linda and
Thank
Rachel.
you.
You're the best.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you. We love you. Thank you.
You're the best.
You're the best for starting this week.